So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, March 11th. Always having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Thursday, March 11th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day today and had a good rest of their day yesterday. NBA is back tonight. Nets versus Celtics tonight, 7:30, I believe, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should be a good game. Great to see basketball back. Rangers also on tonight. Kentucky on today, although not televised. So really stinks when the games aren't televised for spring training. And yes, if you notice, I'm in Kentucky stuff. I just got done watching the game. I decided, instead of trying to record a pod before the game, I decided, you know what? I'm going to record a pod after the game and talk about the game. So, Kentucky loses. It's frustrating. Season is over as we lose 74-73 and in such a tough way. We were getting crushed early in the game. Made a huge comeback, came all the way back, 71-66. Deontay Allen was catching fire. And we ended up losing 74-73 to a late 8-2 run by Mississippi State, as we were winning 71-66 with 3 minutes to go. Same thing with Kentucky all year long, and this is why I'm frustrated. And it's tough for a fan. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially tough for a fan when you've seen this stuff for weeks and weeks and weeks now, where we see these games being blown, and you just wonder, what if we fix this? Whatever we were doing in the final 4 minutes of the game hasn't been working. So, Kentucky season's over, and as odd as it sounds, Kentucky won't be in the March Madness, and neither will Duke. So, it's tough, but I'm eventually gonna have to get over it. I can't sit here all off season thinking about it. I mean, it's really tough because we made that big comeback, and it's going to stick with you for a little bit here. You're not going to be able to get out of your head as a fan. The shot missed. He had a shot at the buzzer beater. It missed. It hit right off the back iron. I mean, he makes that shot. We're moving on. We have a game tomorrow against Alabama. He misses the shot. It's tough. It's not like this is one of the games where we just lost it. It came down to the final shot of the game. We missed it. You can go on and on and on about making it. At the end of the day, we lost. We shot ourselves in the foot too many times this game with too many bad mistakes, not leaving guys open, and it was just a tough loss for Kentucky. So, I'll get into a little bit more of it later when I do the update for the rest of the sports. But a tough day for Kentucky, and a tough day, for many of the players, and really just an interesting day overall in college basketball. I mean, Kentucky's done. That's it. I mean, Kentucky is done. I don't think that came to realization yet that Kentucky is over. Our season's done. We have no more games yet. Until next season in October, we don't have a game. So, Kentucky's got to get a lot of straightened out. There's a lot of questions surrounding a lot of players in Kentucky. Is Davion Mintz going to return? Is Olivier Sarr going to return? What's going to happen with B.J. Boston? Is Isaiah Jackson? I mean, there's so many questions around this team. And I'm sure a lot of them will be answered this offseason, or all of them have to be answered this offseason by the time next season comes. Will Brandon Boston go to the draft, or will he stay back another year and get trained by Calipari? Will Isaiah Jackson go to the draft, or will he stay back? Terrence Clark played 3 games this season. What is he going to do? Is he going to come back, or is he going to declare for the draft? These are all questions that will be answered this offseason, but a lot of questions for Kentucky. A very tough way to end it. And, luckily, as I always say, there's other sports on that I can lean to. There's some people out there that strictly watch one sport, and that's why I'm very glad that I've gotten into all 4 of the major sports. Because when one team's done, I still got another team to go. For example, Kentucky's done now. Well, I still got the Nets, I still got the Rangers, and the Yankees regular season starting up right around the corner. So it's tough for me. But it's not as tough as some of those fans out there who strictly just watch college basketball. Some fans are only football fans. Some fans watch one sport. Some fans watch a couple. Luckily with me, I have been able to have all 4 sports I watch, and I enjoy all 4 of them. So luckily, I still have other teams the Nets, the Yankees, and the Rangers. No more college team. Obviously, college football is done. There's some other games on now, but college football for Miami's done, and obviously both my college teams are done. But it is what it is. Kentucky takes a tough loss and tough pill to swallow, but better luck next season. As I always say, got to be a glass half full kind of guy. Instead of always downing it, better luck next year, and hopefully next season we're back to the Kentucky that everyone knows, and everyone knows. I mean, to Kentucky of being a top 10 team in the nation every year. Hopefully we're back to that next season. But these are the topics for today, because I could go on and on and on and on and on and about Kentucky. I could go on. I could talk about for hours. I decided not to, because I already had my 2 topics, though. But the topics for today, we got Artemi Panarin returns to the New York Rangers. So this was a thing that came out yesterday during the podcast, actually, and I was like, you know what, I got to talk about this today. So he is returning to the New York Rangers. Artemi Panarin, our star forward, returned to the Rangers after taking 2 weeks off for personal reasons, personal issues. He had some issues with some political stuff. Some of the stuff he said, there were some allegations. So far, good news. All of that stuff is fake. Panarin is okay. He is back playing NHL hockey. He won't be in the lineup today at TD Garden against the Boston Bruins with the Rangers, but he will be back. He's going to be with the team, and that's great. And I know a lot of people are still frustrated he's not going to play. Well, the guy can't have 1 day of practice and expect to just go out there and play. He's going to take a little practices. He probably won't. I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't play at all these remaining 2 games on the road trip. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play today or on Saturday afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised if we wait all the way until Monday, our next home game, to play him. And the only reason I say that is because there's a very good shot that the only reason I say that is because there's a very good shot that he might, in regards to Panarin, you want to make sure he's ready. You want to want to just throw him out there in the lineup and hope that he's ready. This is a guy that's been off for 2 weeks, and especially hockey. You've got to be mentally and physically back in shape. You can't just throw a guy out there, because then that's risk injuries and things like that happen. So Artemi Panarin's back. That's big news. And even though he's not playing today, this is good. He's back with the team. He's practicing. This is a step. We were here. We had no clue, and we didn't know clue. We haven't heard from him in 2 weeks. We were here with it, and here's, let's just say him back to playing. We are now all the way over here. Just a couple practices, a little bit more conditioning. He should be back on the ice in no time. One of the best players in the league. I still believe that, and hopefully he comes back in that form. So Artemi Panarin returns. Interesting topic number 2. I debated about talking about a couple different things, but I thought this was relatively important. So as we all know, the XFL, the football league that was a thing, the XFL, I'm sure many of you watched it. I mean, if you didn't watch it, I'm sure you heard of it. I really enjoyed it. I know many people I knew really enjoyed it. Well, obviously, with the whole COVID situation, this time last year, it was playing. It obviously got canceled. This year, there was no season. It's supposed to start up in 2022, which is next year, a week after the Super Bowl is when it's supposed to start. Well, the CFL, Canadian Football League, who is the Canadian version of the NFL, you got teams, you get all the teams, records, weeks, all that stuff, stadiums, all that stuff. So the Canadian Football League is the NFL except in Canada. So obviously with all that stuff, obviously with all that stuff going on, you obviously got the XFL. So XFL and CFL, there's rumors floating around that they are trying to collab and trying to come together to kind of create one big league and ultimately take some of the XFL and some of the CFL, combine it in some way, shape, or form. Does this mean taking the 2 leagues and putting everything together? No. It might mean, putting some teams together, maybe grabbing, different players. It kind of just means some way, shape, or form the XFL and CFL are working on a deal to work together as those 2 league seasons got canceled this year. For next year, they're trying to plan on getting something in the works to get together. So I thought that was big news, especially for me. I'm a big XFL fan. I love the XFL. I really enjoyed it. I was a Guardians fan. Comment down below if you were an XFL fan as well. And then to finish off the podcast, we got the New York Sports Update. The normal New York Sports Update. Yankees, Nets, Rangers all play today. Knicks also back today. I believe the Knicks are also back today. Rangers play today as well. And the Rangers played today as well. Kentucky, like I said, lost. Yeah. But anyway, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Artemi Panarin returns to Rangers practice after taking 2-week personal leave. So, first off, this wasn't, and I want to make this clear because a lot of people out there might think differently here. Artemi Panarin situation was not what happened with Kyrie Irving a couple months prior. Remember when Kyrie Irving went absent? We had no clue what was happening. He was hopping up on political Zoom calls. He was showing up on, he had a dinner. It looked like he was out at dinner or whatever. He was having a party, a maskless party. Come to find out, he did get fined. The NBA still isn't completely sure whether it was a party that happened recently or if it was a party all pre-COVID that all of a sudden just surfaced. Many people have that happen. A lot of people now, with the whole COVID situation going on, a lot of people now, they'll find videos from the past and put them in and say this was a video that was just taken and stuff like that. Usually that doesn't happen, but some people do that. And I don't know if that happened with Kyrie Irving. We never really found out if that video was taken recently or if that video was taken a long time prior. It just so happened that video was taken the week of his sister's birthday, and he was having a party. It just so happened to have been ironic. But at the same time, as an NBA player, I know sometimes athletes can be a little kooky. I know sometimes, and Kyrie at times has said some questionable things in his career. Not off the field, but he said some questionable things. He's a big, he believes a lot of different things, the earth's flat and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, his personal leave was very odd. He didn't tell the team anything like that. Artemi Panarin's personal leave is completely different. Sometimes players, coaches even sometimes, mostly not coaches. You don't see it too often with coaches. But players, a lot of times you see it. They will take a personal absence due to a personal issue that's going on in their life. We've seen this so many times. We saw it recently with Artemi Panarin. We've seen it many different times. I mean, there's guys that even have, personal issues going on that we have no clue about, right? There's guys out there that miss games. Even miss games. There's also guys that even in Artemi Panarin's situation completely remove themselves from the team. Not saying they're not a member of the team, but completely not even, just completely removes themselves from the team because they got to handle what they're handle. Some guys, they'll miss 1 or 2 games. They'll still show up in practice, but mentally they're just not there for the game because of something's going on. Panarin, in this case, he had to completely remove himself from the team, completely remove himself from the coach staff, all that stuff. And the reason was there was allegations that came out a couple weeks ago of him having a physical altercation with a woman back in 2011 when he was playing in Russia. As you all know, he played in Russia, and he had a physical altercation there. So, what happened then is all the reports, coaches, players from his KHL team, when the event supposedly happened, all declined it, said that it was all fake, because recently he spoke out on a political issue, and many people from his hometown in Russia disagreed with what he was saying. Some people agreed with him, some people disagreed with him. But after he said it, he started to receive a lot of hate. He started to receive a lot of threats. And one of the threats was the false allegation of him having a physical altercation with the woman back in 2011. It's a very complicated story. So he had that, right? All that happened. He decided to take some time away from the team. Things were going on. His family, I guess what you could say, was in a little bit of a situation where they weren't too safe. There was a lot of people targeting him and his family, saying bad things, threatening him, things like that. So he decided, you know what? And that's a lot of things. There's things bigger than sports. So he decided to take time away from the team. It's about 2 weeks since he's had time away from the team. He is now back. He joined the team yesterday. And to be honest, I think this whole the absence when he asked to step away from the team, that I think came from more surprise than what I think this is more surprising. Yesterday he was at practice, and David Quinn got asked on the post game of not the last game they played, or yes, the last game they played on what, Tuesday. He was asked when will just one of the questions that popped up because it's been 2 weeks. It's a long time. When will Panarin be back? And he says, I have no clue. He said it's still a day-to-day thing. We're still figuring out what's going on. They asked if he had contact in him. He says he hasn't heard much. But that could also be David Quinn not wanting to give out too much information. Sure enough, yesterday, he was back at Rangers practice. Multiple sources confirmed it. The Rangers posted a photo and a video of him practicing yesterday. He was back at Rangers practice. So out of all that happened, I understand it was a very complicated story. It is a story. I took the story and cut it down to about 5 minutes. This story is a really long story. It's a very long story. I mean, it happened 12 years ago. So this story is a really long story. I about just trimmed it down to about 5 minutes because I can't take an hour to talk about this entire story. So just saying, if you want to hear the whole story, it's out there. I took a long story and made it short, to make a long story short, as they always say. So that's what I just did. But to get to the hockey point of it and not so much to what happened with him, this is big for the Rangers. And the Rangers have been able to show flashes of, we have different guys, Buchnevich, Sabanajad, Kreider especially. Kreider has 2 hat tricks now, I think, since he's been gone. All that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff that has gone on. Right? There's been guys that have been able to step up. Lafreniere has been playing good, right? Panarin, because Panarin, and I'm not just saying this because he's a Ranger. You know how I am with my sports teams. I'm hard on him. I did give Kentucky a win today, but that's generally because I thought they were going to win. Rangers in this case here, with Panarin back, or when Panarin was absent, there was definitely a guy piece missing. And Panarin, let me tell you, because a lot of people don't realize this, he is one of the best players. He's the best player on the Rangers, but he's one of the best in the game. He's a top 5 forward in the game probably right now. I mean, McDavid's definitely probably the best forward. I think McDavid's the best hockey player in the game. I don't know if there's much debate. And I don't want to get it. That's a different segment, different day. I could go on and on about that too. But back to Artemi Panarin. He is one of the best scoring forwards in the NHL. He might be the best scoring forward in the NHL. Overall forward, Connor McDavid. Speed, Connor McDavid. Passing, Connor McDavid. But Panarin's not far behind him. And Panarin is putting up numbers that were on pace to beat last year's number, that were on pace to be as great as last year's number in a 56-game season. He took 2 weeks off. I would say that the MVP for Panarin, which was very well in reach, him to win the MVP of the National Hockey League this year. Last year, he was one of the finalists, didn't win it. This year, if he kept up what he was doing, he was going to be one of the finalists. I would say right now MVP's out of the equation for him with this 2-week break. And the Rangers missed him, and the Rangers need him. Because I've said this about the New York Rangers. It's all fun, and it's nice. Right? We all say, it's nice. And as they always say, whenever you're practicing a sport, whether that's hockey in this case, baseball, basketball, or football, they always say, play with someone better than you. That's what they always say. If you're trying to go and play against someone that's worse than you, you're not going to get better. Because you're just going to be crushing that person or that team every time. It's not going to be better. When you play against a team or a player that's better than you, you're going to get better off of that. It's going to be better competition. You're going to have to work harder. In this case is with the New York Rangers here. The New York Rangers, it's all fun to crush teams like the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres. The 2 worst teams in the East Division and arguably the 2 worst teams in the NHL. It's all fun and games to crush them. But when you have to go up against teams like the Flyers and the Capitals and and the Islanders and the Bruins, when you have to go up against those teams, it's a whole lot more difficult. And that's what I found has happened since the Rangers lost Artemi Panarin. We've beaten the Sabres. We've beaten the Devils. Oh, we crushed the Devils. 12 goals in 2 days. We crushed them. We dominated them. We did. We really did. We dominated them. We beat them all. We did beat, right? Panarin, when Panarin's on this team, he doesn't only help us win those games against the Devils and the Sabres, but he puts us in the race to beat the Bruins, the Capitals. When the Rangers were beating the Bruins, who was in the lineup? Artemi Panarin. Now I do believe we beat the Bruins that one time. Panarin wasn't in the lineup. I do believe that, but we were much more consistent, much more better. Panarin is a great forward. He's amazing. He's one of the best players in the NHL. So that's another thing. He's not only the best player in this team. He's the best player in the NHL. The Rangers were missing a lot. And all those Rangers fans that are out there that are a little upset that he's not going to be playing today, sure, would we love to see him back out there very soon? Yes. But like I noted early on in the podcast, what would you rather? Not hear absolutely anything from him or at least have him back at practice? Could it take him a couple days to return? Yeah. Hockey's one of the most physically demanding sports out there. It is such a hard sport. You got to have endurance. You got to first off have skill. You can't just have endurance because you got to know how to skate. You got to know how to puck handle. You got to know how to shoot. You got to know the game. You can't just go out there and not know the rules. Hockey's probably the hardest sport out there. And part of the reason is because it's skating. It's skating. If you've tried ice skate before, it's not easy. It's not easy. So you can't just have a guy come back. And David Quinn did say he's been training on his own. But it's a whole lot different training on your own than training on your own. It's a whole lot different training on your own than training with a team. Because you could train on your own all you want. Once you get back into the team, the drills, the simulation of the plays, and then once you get back into live action against other opponents, that's when you get real. So Panarin's going to take a little bit. I think he very well could be back Monday when we return from our road trip. I think that's a very well possibility. Is he going to play Saturday afternoon against Boston? That's not my decision. I would go ahead and say no because he's only 2 practices back in. I would go ahead and say, because you got to realize too, the Rangers practiced yesterday. They had a morning skate today. They'll practice tomorrow. They probably won't have a morning skate for the day game because they got to get there earlier. He'll probably participate in the morning skate, all the practices. You get him 3 practices under his belt and about 3 practices under his belt and about 2 pregame skates. He'll be good to go for Monday. I think very well, possibility. And if not Monday, definitely sometime next week. Who knows? Maybe he does return Saturday. Jacob Trouba, the guy who broke a finger. He was supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He came back a week and a half, 2 weeks later. He took 1 practice and he was back in action. So it really is what kind of player you are. It really is. But really, to be honest, it's great to have him back. But it's also great to know that everything that was going on with him, because it was very interesting. It's very odd. It was a very odd thing to going on. We've never really seen this in any sport. What was going on with him was definitely tough. And, all the allegations that had are false. They're not true. His family was in danger. He was getting threats. So, that's why, sport, sometimes this stuff is bigger than sports. So, the reality side of it aside, it's just great for the New York Rangers to have a leader, to have a guy like Artemi Panarin at that high of a skill level back in the lineup, back in action. And even though he's not in the lineup tonight, it's just great to have him back skating and with the team again. So Artemi Panarin returns to Rangers practice after taking 2-week personal leave. The New York Rangers winger Artemi Panarin returned to practice Wednesday for the first time since taking personal leave from the NHL on February 22nd. ESPN's Emily Kaplan reported Panarin stepped away from the club indefinitely after Andrei Nazarov, his former coach with the KHLs. That's a tough name. I'll tell you what, hockey players, a lot of times their names are interesting because they're from, Russia and stuff. So I'm sorry if I don't nail this name. It's a tough one. Chekhov Vitas alleged he was involved in a physical altercation with a woman in Latvia a decade ago. The Rangers described the allegation as clearly an intimidation tactic being used against Panarin for his being outspoken on recent political events in his native Russia. The KHL said it received no information about an incident involving Panarin as they described by Nazarov, and the NHL hasn't acted on the allegation because of lack of corroborating evidence by Kaplan. That's another thing, too. These reports came out, and there was zero evidence. Players from Panarin said that he didn't do it. Rangers got no information. They said he didn't do it. The NHL did a deep investigation. They didn't even find anything. As I always say on this podcast, and I say this with anything, there's sometimes to a story there's missing parts. And I said this too about Russell Wilson back when I was talking about him. When there was trade rumors, there's too many things that are missing for me to buy into it. Same thing in this case. There was not enough information. Sure, if they said where it was, exactly when it happened, if they had video of it, if some of the players even said that, he did something like that, then you could believe it. But there was nothing, there was no information. They did a deep investigation. Nothing. So they came back false. So this is some of just the political stuff. He was outspoken on the Russian president, which is Vladimir Putin. To be honest, I'm not a political guru, so I'm not going to get all into that stuff because I talk sports. I'm not really that stuff. And generated worldwide headlines in July 2019 when he did an interview with Russian YouTuber outlet Vezimu Galin via Sportsnet, in which he called out Putin for his country's poor conditions. This is just what he was saying. He had some fellow Russians made the mistake of treating Putin as a superhuman and said there's no question there is someone better than the current president. Nazarov is a Putin supporter and Russian president. Also counts the Washington Capitals' Alexander Ovechkin and Pittsburgh Penguins' Evgeny Malkin among his backers. Panera recorded 18 points, 5 goals, and 13 assists in 14 games before taking the leave of absence. He finished third in the MVP, third in voting for the Hart Trophy, the NHL's MVP award last season after tallying a career-high 95 points. Like I said, he was a finalist. He finished third. There's 3 finalists. I think there's 3 or 5 finalists usually. He finished third, so, he was really close to getting it. New York's next game is scheduled for Thursday night when it visits TD Garden to face the Boston Bruins. So that's tonight. So he's not going to be playing tonight. That's already confirmed. So let me just look at the Rangers' upcoming schedule here. Let's just take a look here. So the Rangers' upcoming schedule. Let's just take a quick look at this upcoming schedule here. Alright, so the Rangers play today. Obviously, he won't be playing. They play tomorrow. Won't be playing probably without either. They play Saturday. My bad. They have an afternoon game on Saturday. So there's your 2 games, away games. Then they have 2 home games for a little bit there. Then they have 2 home games against the Flyers. Then they go back on the road against the Capitals. Home for 1 game against the Sabres. 3 on the road, 2 against Flyers, 1 against Capitals. Then they come home to play the Capitals, 2 against Sabres. I'm going into April now. And then what's interesting is the Rangers have an interesting thing on their schedule. If you look at this, in April 13th to April 18th, the Rangers will play 4 straight games against the Devils. They'll have an April 13th game at the Devils. Then they'll come home to play 2. And then they'll have a back-to-back April 17th, April 18th, the second home game, and then they'll get on the road to play the Devils. So there is that's just how interesting the schedule is. And then we close out with the Bruins. So that's how interesting, that really is how crazy it is. That's how interesting the schedule is we could have 4 home games. Sometimes you play 4 teams, you play the team 4 times in like a couple months. We're going to be playing 4 times, which is almost going to be like a playoff series in a way. It's almost going to be like a playoff series. So, which is interesting. It's interesting to have a playoff series like that, but, to have a 4-game set in the middle of the year, it's interesting. It reminds me a lot of baseball. That's what this Rangers schedule reminds me a lot of, is baseball. Because baseball, obviously, you have the 3-game sets. You have 3 games. You play the 3 straight games at, 3 games, whether that's a home or away, or you can even have 4 games. Winner of each series. That's almost this year, except it's 2 games. I kind of like it in a way. I don't think the NHL will continue to do it. I mean, as they always say, we're trying to do everything as normal as we can. I don't think the NHL is going to go back to an 82-game season. Going to go back to just playing, a different team each day. Because you also got to realize it's splitting up into different conferences. Canadian teams are playing in Canada. They haven't crossed the border to the United States to play any other United States teams. So that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's an East Division, a North Division, I believe Central and West. And the East Division consists of Let me see if I can nail this. The East Division, obviously, it shouldn't be easy, it shouldn't be hard to nail. The East Division consists of Islanders, Capitals, Penguins, Bruins, Flyers, Rangers, and then the Devils and the Sabres. That's the East Division. And the North Division is all of your Canadian teams, which are the teams like the Flames, Oilers, Jets, Maple Leafs, Canadians, Canucks, and the Senators, who are also not good. Trying to remember, because I looked at the standings earlier. I'm trying to remember like the order they were in. And you got obviously the other divisions as well, the Knights, the Wild, those teams like that, Avalanche, all those teams will play together. That's how it is. So I don't think the NHL will continue to do that. Because once all this COVID stuff is really handled and, seasons and leagues can get back to completely normal, 82 games, 162, 82 for the NBA. NFL played the normal 16 this season. Actually, NFL is planning on playing 17 next year, which will be for now on. They're planning on extending the regular season 1 week. Not because of COVID, they're just planning on doing that. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting schedule. I get used to it. I'm used to it. Like the Bruins, we have a 2-game set against the Bruins. We have a 2-game set against the Flyers coming up. Like that, I'm used to it. At the beginning of the year, it was a little odd when you would play a team sometimes like 4 times in like 6 days. Like that doesn't happen. You would have like 2 games, then you would go on the road and play another team, then you come back and play the team again. At the beginning of the year, it was a little odd. It wasn't that it was like different. I mean, it wasn't that it was like boring, but like you were at the time, you're like, oh my gosh, like we played this team a couple days ago, like, kind of got that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's what I got for this topic. Coming up next, we will get into the Xfl Rumors. So the XFL and CFL are negotiating deep into negotiations. I said contract, deep into negotiations about a possible. I don't want to say combining the 2 leagues because that's not quite what it is, but collaboration in some way, shape, or form coming up next. Alrighty, so let's get this up here. Trying to figure this thing out here. Okay, here we go. So it's weird because on this app I have, which is Bleacher Report, there's no XFL section. There was, but with the whole XFL thing. So anyway, so let's get this up here. So the XFL CFL discussing collaboration after seasons canceled because of COVID-19. So as we all know, the XFL was a football league that was actually brung out about in the 90s. It lasted for, I believe, 1 year, right? Was it 1 year, I think? 1 full season it lasted, and just wasn't able to survive. And we've seen that with sporting leagues. We've seen that a lot with leagues where we've seen that a lot where let's see, sorry about that. I was just getting this thing up. So we've seen that a lot where teams or where leagues don't survive. We saw with the AAF, which was American Alliance Football League, I think it was. That lasted like 5 weeks, and it got postponed because the ratings were down. They were just not making enough revenue. The XFL was actually doing really, 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 really well. The XFL was doing really, really, really well. They were actually they were getting good ratings. Their ratings were up. They were looking good. They were doing really well. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And, COVID, the virus has destroyed a lot. In sports, especially, reality, regular everyday life, it's hurt businesses and stuff like that, but especially in sports. I mean, a complete league had to get shut down, and we've seen all of it. But the XFL never returned to play. The other leagues did. NBA eventually did, NHL did, MLB, pause started in July instead of April. But yeah, so the XFL, obviously, it was doing well. I mean, it was getting ratings. They were comparing it to the other leagues. It was doing really well. And then the virus hit and went downhill. And they ended up deciding to just cancel the season. They decided, you know what? We're just going to hit it back up next season. And then what happened was, is up next, the XFL decided they filed bankruptcy. And when they filed bankruptcy, that meant that they were losing money and stuff like that. So they kind of, their season got put on pause. So Oliver Luck, I believe, and Vince McMahon kind of got into a little bit of debate, took it to court, and all of a sudden, the new ownership was found. And the new ownership is now Dwayne Johnson, who is the main owner, and followed by Dwayne Johnson, who is the main owner now. So the owner of the XFL now is Dwayne Johnson. The Rock, as we all know, we've seen him in movies, all that good stuff. So he is now really the new main owner of the XFL. So the XFL and the CFL have now are in a little bit of negotiations. I don't want to so much say they're negotiations to kind of combine and make one league, but they're in negotiations to somehow, some way, do something together, collaborate with each other to ultimately make a football league that us fans will really enjoy. So here's the teams in the XFL. These are the teams in the XFL. I remember the teams consist of the LA Wildcats, Tampa Bay Vipers, Seattle Dragons, DC Defenders, my favorite team, the New York Guardians, the St. Louis Battlehawks, Houston Roughnecks, and the Dallas Renegades. So those were the 8 teams. Now we're in it. There was obviously the East Division, the West Division, all that good stuff. The East Division consists of the Tampa Bay Vipers, DC Defenders, New York Guardians, and if my geographical, it was the LA Wildcats was the West Division, Seattle, Dallas, I believe was Houston in the East Division, I think. I'm not entirely sure. The LA Wildcats, I don't know. I gotta check the divisions again. But yeah, those were the teams. Those were the teams, and those were the teams. I mean that was it. It was organized. It was good. So the East Division was the DC Defenders, St. Louis Battlehawks, New York Guardians, and the Tampa Bay Vipers, and the West Division was the Houston Roughnecks, Dallas Renegades, Los Angeles Wildcats, and the Seattle Dragons. So those were your West Division. If I really want to go into stats here, the Guardians finished the year, they were 3-2. So they were 3-2 when the season got shut down. So the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, the CFL is the NFL for Canada, and it's got all the teams, all that stuff. So that's the CFL. So these are the CFL teams. So I'm not great with the CFL. I've never watched the CFL. I might have had it watch. But the CFL are the Rough Riders, Edmonton Football Team, BC Lions, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Calgary Stampeders, Hamilton Tiger Cats, Montreal Alouettes, and Ottawa Red Blacks, Memphis Mad Dogs, and the Ottawa Rough Riders. So as you can see, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, all those teams all up in Canada. So the XFL now is negotiating with CFL as they both canceled their seasons this year, negotiating a possible deal to try to come together and collaborate in some way, shape, or form. So let's read this article here, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. So XFL, CFL discussing collaboration after seasons canceled because of COVID-19. The Canadian Football League and XFL announced Wednesday they plan to work together for a potential collaboration. We look forward to exploring how we might work with one of the most innovative sports brands in the world to grow the game, engage fans in new ways, and reach new audiences, CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie said in a joint statement. We look forward to seeing what possibilities our discussion might uncover and to sharing those with our fans as the process unfolds. Neither side referenced the possibility of merging, but each confirmed interest in combining their efforts moving forward. We are honored and excited to be in discussions with the CFL, XFL President and CEO Jeffrey Pollock said, "It's clear through our early conversations that we shared a passion for football, an expansive sense of possibility, and a deep desire to create more opportunity for players and fans across North America and around the world." Both leagues were forced to cancel their 2020 seasons amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The XFL was 5 weeks into the season before declaring bankruptcy. Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia of Redbird Capital Partners purchased the XFL from Vince McMahon after the league declared bankruptcy in 2020. Per Cypher, the league paused its planning for the 2022 season. The CFL is set to return in 2021 and has already announced a league-wide schedule. Preseason games are set to begin May 23rd, with the regular season slated on June 10th. So they paused their year. They're playing it later. And like I said, nowhere in the discussions, nothing I heard yesterday said that they're trying to combine leagues. And that's another thing too, which this is huge news because the XFL, you got to realize, a lot of these expansion leagues don't survive. The CFL has survived. It's been around for a really long time. A lot of these other expansion leagues don't survive. So maybe combining together, trying to do something together, the XFL will survive. You know, leagues have tried over and over and over again. It just hasn't worked. The NFL is the main football league. It just hasn't been able to survive. With baseball around the corner and all that stuff, all those other leagues get more ratings. But this is big for the XFL because the XFL, considering they just declared bankruptcy, and the money is kind of low, and they're not in a good position right now, to get help from another league that is not in a great position either, trying to figure out to get their season underway in the summer, at least you can get something from it. And that's another thing too that leaves us on a little bit of a cliffhanger. You could look at it two ways. You could look at it as, oh, these negotiations aren't going far. You could also look at it as, oh, well, this is interesting. These negotiations are actually looking like promising. They're looking like, okay, maybe we could get to do something here. And the reason, and what I'm trying to say here is, negotiations are. We'll see how it plays out. But ultimately, I think this is great. I think this is great news for the XFL. And comment down below what you thought of the XFL. I really enjoyed it. What I really enjoyed too about the XFL was I like the NFL, and it's my favorite football league. I'd rather watch an NFL game than an XFL game. That's just how it is. I like the XFL, but the NFL is the pro league. Better talent, better players, stuff like that. The NFL is better. But for a fan for me that likes football, sometimes you're in that little bit of that period where you don't have much going on a week after the Super Bowl, right? February, I feel like, is a pretty dull month for sports. Because baseball doesn't start until March. You get spring training, but that's later in the month. You have that 2, 3, 4 week period there where there ain't much going on. You got basketball and hockey on, but other than that, there ain't much going on. The NFL is done. The season's over. You sometimes go with withdrawal for a couple weeks without football. You sometimes wonder, and I do that, the same thing. You find yourself, even during the playoffs, you find yourself on a Sunday trying to look for a game, and you're like, oh, wow, there's nothing on. You get so used to it. We get spoiled for 16 weeks of the season plus playoffs of football being on every Sunday. It gets a little weird after there's no football on. You're like, oh, wow, there's no football on. Geez, this is odd. So that's why some of these leagues do it. Gives you something to watch. Saturday, Sunday, do it. So maybe we see that. Maybe we see the XFL, instead of their plan of starting in 2022, maybe they feel ratings, people watching would be better if we started in a time where, in the summer. Maybe, because then NBA, NHL is done. Football is in training camp. All you got is baseball. Maybe try to do that. Maybe. Who knows? It would be interesting, though. And hopefully, whatever they do, though, hopefully some more news comes out recently. Because this was news, but we didn't get much information. All we got was they were working on collaborating. We didn't get anything. We didn't get, trying to collaborate to come to. We didn't get what they were collaborating on. All we heard was they were in talks about collaborating in some way. So this is another thing, too. I don't want to get too excited here because I have no clue. There's too many holes to this story right now to really, really, really get excited. But I think this is a step in the right direction for trying to get the XFL back in action. That's good. So that's what I got for that. Comment down below your thoughts on the XFL and all that good stuff. Alrighty, so let's get to up here. It's gonna be interesting. I really like the XFL. My favorite team, it was Guardians. I didn't watch the AAF. The reason I did was the AAF had no. I'm a New York sports fan, so the AAF had no, and the AAF too. It just was terrible. And that's another thing too. What was good about the XFL is how they added different rules instead of it being the same exact football game. They added different rules. And I think that's pretty pivotal. is adding new rules. They didn't have field goals. I don't believe they did. You had to go for 2 points. You didn't have field goals. You didn't have extra points. Sorry about that. You didn't have extra points. You had to go for 2. I think you went from 2 that's another thing too. If you were down by 12, you were technically not down by 3 scores. And that's another thing too. When there's less talent, there's not as much talent, it's interesting. It is. But let's see here. It would be, like I said, it's exciting, but you don't want to get too excited because there's not been enough information. I'm sure in the next coming days there will be a lot more information here. So yesterday for the ranked college basketball games, Oklahoma won. Today, Ohio State, Minnesota, I'll give Ohio State the win. Baylor, Kansas State, I'll give Baylor the win. Completed games, Georgetown won, Virginia won, Oklahoma State won. Today we also got going San Diego State, Wyoming. I'll give San Diego State the win. Creighton, Butler, give Creighton the win. Oklahoma, Kansas, give Kansas the win. Virginia Tech, North Carolina, I'll give North Carolina the win. Utah, USC, Utah the win. Texas Tech, Texas Tech the win. A lot of Texas there. Colorado, California, I'll give Colorado the win. And Kentucky played today as well. Kentucky lost 74-73. We finished the season with a 9-16 record. Wasn't good enough in the end. It was just frustrating way to end it, and it's a really hard way to end it. It really is. Close, one shot. You make it, you advance, you miss it, season's over, and you end the season like that. Tough way, but better luck next season. As for the MLB, yesterday the Dodgers won, Marlins, Astros tied, Giants won, Rockies won, Royals won, Rangers won, Angels won, A's won, Phillies won, Twins won, Red Sox won, Orioles won, and Nationals won. Today, Yankees, Phillies, I'll give, I'll wait for that. National Marlins, I'll give Nationals the win. Orioles, Pirates, give Orioles the win. Braves, Rays, give Braves the win. Twins, Red Sox, give Red Sox the win. Blue Jays, Tigers, I'll give Blue Jays the win. Rangers, A's, give Rangers the win. Cubs, Rockies, give Cubs the win. Angels, Giants, give Angels the win. Padres, Indians, give Padres the win. Brewers, Royals, give Brewers the win. Mets, Astros, I'll give Astros the win. Dodgers, Mariners, give Dodgers the win. Reds, White Sox, give White Sox the win. Yankees also play today. Yankees coming in this game fresh off of a win yesterday, 6-5. It was a good win yesterday for the Yankees. Today we come into this game 5-4-1. I'll give the Yankees the win. And then as for the NBA, if I could find the NBA. The NBA yesterday, the Mavericks won and Grizzlies won. Today we got the Hornets, Pistons, give Hornets the win. Hawks, Raptors, or Hawks the win. Bulls, 76ers, Bulls the win. Bucks, Knicks, give Bucks the win. Heat, Magic, Heat the win. Pelicans, Timberwolves, give Pelicans the win. Mavericks, Thunder, Mavericks the win. Kings, Rockets, Kings the win. Suns, Trailblazers, Suns the win. Clippers, Warriors, Clippers the win. Nets also play today. Nets coming in this game. Here, let's get into the Nets here, actually. Let me just get up here. Alrighty, so let's get into the Nets here. So, Nets, Celtics. Nets coming in this game 24-13. Celtics come into this game 19-17. Nets are 2-point favorites. The over/under is 233 for this game. This game comes on today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TNT. I'll give Nets the win. Blake Griffin is out, and so is KD again. But hopefully they will be both in the lineup very soon here. As for the NHL, yesterday, Canadiens won, Kings won, Avalanche won, Oilers won, and Wild won. Today, we got Flyers, Capitals, I'll give Flyers the win. Islanders, Devils, give Islanders the win. Maple Leafs, Jets, Maple Leafs win. Panthers, Blue Jackets, Panthers win. Sabres, Penguins, Penguins win. Predators, Hurricanes, Hurricanes win. Lightning, Red Wings, I'll give Lightning the win. Stars, Blackhawks, Stars the win. And Flames, Canadiens, Flames to win. Rangers also play today. Rangers come in this game 10-11-3. Bruins come in this game 13-6-4. This game comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN+. The over-unders for this game is 5.5. You can find this game on ESPN+, and you can find this game on MSG2. As much as I hate to say it, I'm going to give the Bruins the win here. I hope I'm wrong. Go Rangers, but the Rangers will probably win. I find when I pick the Rangers to win, they don't win, and I find when I pick them to lose, they win. So we'll see how it plays out, but go Rangers. We don't have Panera back yet. He's got to still practice a little bit. In fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 1,132 to 820, so not going pretty good there. But today I've got going Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Kemba Walker, Jeremy Grant, Kyle Lowry, and Victor Oladipo. And injury report, Siakam still got the COVID-19 protocols, and same thing with Fred VanVleet. The same injury update there. And as for fantasy hockey, I'm currently winning 63-36, so going really well there. I got going Mika Zibanejad, Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Jamie Benn, Nicholas Backstrom, Nikola Ehlers, Joe Pavelski, Jeff Petrie, Duncan Keith, Shea Weber, and Johnny Gaudreau. My 2 goalies are Jacob Markstrom and Semyon Varlamov. And Panarin is still out, but Panarin, not injury-related, returned to practice Wednesday, but he won't play Thursday against the Bruins, Stefan Wino of the Associated Press reports. So, obviously, talked about that earlier. He won't be playing today's games, but he will be returning soon. And it happens. And I'm never perfect. None of us are perfect. But just saying, and I put a lot of thought into my brackets. I've gotten the first 2 games of the bracket wrong so far. Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, I had Texas A&M winning. Vanderbilt won. Kentucky, Mississippi State, I had Kentucky winning. Mississippi State won. That's how it happens. It happens, people. Put a lot of thought into it. It happens. It is what it is. But, yeah. Anyway, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was another really, really good podcast. A ton of great sports news. So, yeah. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.